evolution of the industry has changed to where record keeping is tremendously more important.
Made a new rule and everybody had to start keeping records.
Everything's documented.
Wanted to give you all an opportunity to engage in the conversation. You know, we heard about the challenge of all the data scattered across the farm, and you know, as a grower, I need to use this information, and I'd like to sleep under the tree, but you know, I've got all this information coming, and we want to normalize it and bring it together. And the conversation that you just had about it's really about change management and people. You know, we talk about technology and we talk about data and we talk about all of these things that we can do with cool technology, but it's really about changing behavior of people and what our customers are expecting and how they get involved in the conversation. You talked about it being order generated. You know, and Del, we spoke last week about, you know, that very thing, the change of, you know, what our customers are expecting, that, you know, a piece of paper on a recommendation isn't going to work anymore. You know, all electronic is, you know, how all your recommendations are going out these days. And so, you know, there's a lot of change in our industry, and as things are evolving through, I'm curious and just would like to, maybe you can all share something that when a change that happened over the last maybe 5 years with technology, that maybe as it arrived, it was something that you thought, gosh, you know, this is silly, this is never going to do us any good. But then now we're a few years later and we realize that, you know, technology maybe isn't such a bad thing, and it turned out to be a part of something in your operation that was a little more valuable. Yeah. You think of something like that?
I guess I'd say as a grower and an owner of an ag chem company for over 30 years, we've seen significant changes, as all of you guys have. I remember the day when we had a 1,500 burrows, L1500 burrows, that was bigger than this table and an 8x10 enclosed room. And then we went to our first computer, and we were among the first people to offer electronic recommendations. Now the norm is field people in the field with customers having instant access to electronic data on a wireless basis and remotely. And so we've jumped all the way from a giant computer to having this stuff on our laptop and being able to text and email Britt, so he doesn't have, and Britt's a grower of ours, by the way, so our guys have electronic recommendations that go to Britt. He doesn't have a piece of paper, and he can track all of those. So we've seen a significant change in history.
Yeah, sure.
I would just say that and I think Clay said it best, the most significant change in, say, the last 5 or so years is this little device right here. It's an amazingly powerful little piece of equipment. And, you know, what I've done with it in the last 5 years is, and you saw on one of my slides up there a picture of one of my bin tags. I can tell you every bin tag that I have picked on my farm for the last 5 years. I can give you where it was picked, when it was picked, who picked it, and the unique serial number it was picked by. And it's all right here. Well, okay, technically it's off in the cloud somewhere. But that kind of technology 5 years ago, who would have thought we would have been able to do that? And I'm just now trying to figure out how to be able to capture that data and actually use it in a more productive fashion. But yeah, the way things are going right now and the way we can actually accumulate information and hopefully turn it into data, it's an amazing function. So yeah, in the last 5 years, what this thing
no shortage of information on that phone. You know, I remember when phones and the text messages, and I thought, what a waste of time, right? Who's going to text message? Just pick up the phone and call.
Yeah,
and now it's like,
remember when the phone actually had a cord thingy on it, and it's not a charger. I mean, it was actual cord. You go as far from the kitchen wall as the cord would allow. So that's been an amazing advancement in the last 5 years.
Well, and you know, another one that I think often, you know, because it's all about documentation.
Right.
You know, it's all about documentation, and what's worth 1,000 words? A picture. You know, and so often, it's even people have a problem. Take a picture, send it to me. Let me see what the issue is. And so often we even overlook, you know, even capabilities that we have on these.
Yes. Right, absolutely. Well, there's no shortage of information today. And where we talked about the funnel of information that comes in and all that which is on your phone and generated, and the traceability and the labels and all of that, it can be a little overwhelming. And one of the parts that I'm always interested in, I'd like to hear from you, and of course we could open up the conversation in the room. If there's questions, you let us know and we'll bring it by a mic. Is with all of this information flowing through your business, and it's scattered on laptops and spreadsheets and file servers and phones, what about privacy and security? Does that come up in your day when you think about, wow, it's cool that I have the last 5 years on my phone, but what happens to that information if it leaves my phone? And what are the value of this information? How do we start to protect? What are some of the thoughts that run through your mind in business when we talk about privacy and security of information?
Well, one of the things, I guess, when I wake up and get over the fact that the NSA has recorded everything I do anyway, and I often wonder if they run a backup service like Carbonite that I could go ask them to retrieve something that I lost, because I'm in theory they've recorded it. Whether they read it or not, I don't know. But it is very concerning when it comes to data security, because when you think about it from a perspective of a small farmer, and I'm in competition with all the rest of the farmers out there right now, but knowing what do I apply for products, when I apply it, how much I apply it, is really proprietary information. And so I do have some concerns. I guess I'm resigned to the fact that because I use a Gmail account, Google knows all this stuff because they scan that all. But I do worry about that privacy of that information. The relationship I have one-on-one with one of Dell's fieldmen, to me, it's a very private relationship, and I'm concerned that that data stays with me and doesn't get out to my competition. So it is concerning, and it is one of those things I think that we'll need to address as we move forward, because data is powerful. Information is powerful.
Well, I would say, some of it as well is, is trying to minimize that footprint, to some degree. And one of the challenges, especially as a smaller operation, is I got, this for my recommendations. I got 5 different systems versus, trying to pull that all back into one, where I'm at with our size and scale, we have, pretty much one, but I'm very protective, and I'm like, I don't want another one. I want something that integrates. I want to keep all of my stuff, hopefully, in as few baskets as possible. And that makes the security and some of the privacy a little bit more manageable, just because I don't have to worry about how 6 different places do it. I can, hopefully get it into 1 or 2.
Right.
Yeah, I think from our standpoint, our growers and our ag consultants need to have instant access to that data. They want it to be electronic, and they want it to be able to integrate into other information management systems. So Stemelt, for example, can use Brit spray records to position the fruit in a market that they think is best suited for that particular fruit. If that's going to happen, then we have to make sure that all that information is, number one, accurate, it has to be reliable, and it has to be secure. I don't think as growers, and we're selling food and it's a food safety issue, I don't think we're going to be afforded the same luxury as the IRS and tell them we lost our records. We're going to have to be able to have secure records and be able to deal with that.
Certainly, yeah. And Clay, you brought up an interesting point that by being able to contain that information into fewer buckets, you have more control, more security. And I spoke with a gentleman back at the Info Ag Conference earlier this year, and he spoke about today. People are concerned about the cloud. Ooh, if we get this information out to the cloud, what happens to my data? Oh no, who's going to see it? And in actuality, it's one of the safest places to be, because it's a protected, closed environment rather than scattered across laptops and the pickups of fieldmen across the field and spreadsheets bannered around sales desks. The cloud is a secure environment with engineers that maintain privacy and security. That's their job. And so it seems that it's similar with you.
Absolutely. That is really the goal, is that, because the unfortunate part is people spend a lot of, time, effort putting into something, and then, their laptop dies and it's gone, or, or other people can't get at it, and so, the cloud can certainly seem scary, I'm sure, but absolutely, it's a huge opportunity. A great example, I think, is, 150 years ago, if you needed electricity, you were generating your own electricity, because there was no power grid, there was no, service for that. But once there was a power grid, it was much cheaper and effective to have power delivered to you via a line than, pay people to manage a generator, fuel a generator, everything else. And so that scalability gives everybody, no matter how big you are, access to everything that all of the big boys have, and probably a huge advantage, because you get to start out with it right from the scratch, and you haven't had 30 years of different systems that have gotten you to that point.
That's an excellent point. Very good. And we're certainly welcome to any questions from the audience or perspectives to share. So just let us know, and we'll bring you a mic. You know, as we wind things down and before our next session, I just wanted to give an opportunity. You know, challenges ahead. There's opportunities out there with information, and there's challenges of pulling it together and making it secure and accessible and being able to allow it to drive decisions for the fruit. But what are some of the other opportunities that you see in being able to use information in your business? What are some of the things that maybe don't exist today in your operation, but you see that, gosh, once we get to this point and we're able to relate this information here, or what we could do with cool technology that might be coming down the pike that isn't quite there yet? Is there any dreams or aspirations that you have with technology in your business?
Well, I'll just start with one. We actually were talking about it earlier with some of the vendors out there, but I envision a day where we have that technology, whether it's wearable technology or what have you, out on the farm, whether it's a Google Glasses variant or a glove or it's a high-tech smartphone, where I can actually walk through my orchard, and in the process of doing so, I can see fruit quality, I can see color percentage, I can see pest damage, I can see water needs, I can see all these different things, and that data will flow into me as I walk down the orchard row or drive down the orchard row, as it is usually. So I don't think we're that far away from that technology, but I see the day where that's coming, and that will be very powerful to me. Right now you do it very subjectively as a farmer, but if I could do it objectively with actually to be able to say, I know this and I know that and I know where this is and I know where these starch levels are, I know what the pressure levels are, and I see this particular over here, this means this is an OBLR damage or something, and so that way I can automatically work with those people or specialists that I need to bring in to help me alleviate or solve the problem. That's power with information. So I see it. It's not very far off.
Exciting. I know you're a fan of Google Glass, and well, and what's interesting, and when you say that, I think, wow, that's cool. You could walk through the orchard and present yourself throughout your fields and pull in this information. And then, the conversation that often comes up as I'm speaking with folks is, well, hold on, is that going to replace my job? Am I going to have a position in the future if all of a sudden growers are wearing glasses to tell them everything that I tell them? And I think that it absolutely does, because as you just mentioned, now that I can see it, I could have a more meaningful conversation with my professional, with my advisor. I can take that conversation further than I was able to take it before. So it's not replacing the importance of boots on the ground, but rather it's empowering that discussion so that now those conversations can be more meaningful.
Or hopefully in the future, my drone won't collide with Dell's drone out there as we're scouting, and we're sitting here doing it from our anyway.
Well, no, absolutely. I have a very similar one, is that, you've got a UAV flying over every week that's taking high res, but then if you think of all of your employees all have Google Glass. So every time they're out there, it's recording everything as well, and so you think of all of that data that could all be aggregated, and you're right, whether you're walking through the warehouse and it's saying, here's the one that I want you to pick and go put on that truck. That technology is pretty close. It's just really getting it to the acceptance point, where people will accept it and
Change
those kind of things.
management.
Yeah, change in people. It all comes down to people. And when we realize that technology is here to empower and to create opportunities, not here to survey, it's not here to be big brother and to watch over or to replace you, but to empower you, to extend the conversation with your employees and with your business partners, from farm to fork, from plant to plate. Technology is certainly an opportunity that we have available to us, and we look forward to exploring more of that here this afternoon.